Hey guys, Rhett here. What is going on? Thanks for watching. If you've been on the channel for a while, you know that when the whiteboard comes out, I mean business. And if you're new to the channel, thanks for being here. I want to talk today about the 6 concepts that I learned that once I learned them, it made Section 8 real estate investing a whole heck of a lot easier. And what I'm going to talk about today, nobody talks about. There is none of this conversation going on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. You hear a lot of buy these Section 8 units, you can buy all this cool stuff. I want to talk about if you're struggling with Section 8, these are the main concepts you have to learn. Otherwise, you're going to have a really difficult time being successful in doing this, okay? So 6 concepts. And I want to talk about each one of them. We're going to go one by one. Excuse the very poor handwriting. So number 1 and the most important piece to what we do is the market. Where are we buying? Where are we investing? If you are in a market that it's really hard to get things under contract, it's going to be frustrating. If you're in a market where the deals are not good and they don't pencil, it's going to be aggravating. It's going to throw you off. It's going to be tough for you to persevere through it. The numbers have to work. The inventory has to be there. Once the inventory's there, is the demand there for Section 8 units? The market is so important. I have a lot of clients who say, I want to try buying in this market. I want to buy one here. And if it's good, then I can try this market and then I can try this market. No. We're going to go in one market. If you're successful in that market, why are we going to move? Let's build a big portfolio in that market. People say to me, well, Rhett, what if I have to diversify? I can't have all my risk in one market. Well, absolutely. We'll get to 40, 50, 60, 100, 200 units. Then we can start diversifying. Then we can start going out to different markets. And when you do scale from different markets, you don't jump across the country. You slowly move to a city close by and then to another city close by, and you start branching out that way. Because when you're building the evolution of a team and you have a team in one market that helped you onboard 20, 40, 100, 200 units, you don't just stop cold turkey and start somewhere else and create a new team and do that. You have to still rely on that team somewhat. So maybe you really liked your realtor or your construction team in one market, and then you might go 50, 60 miles away. And then in that market, you can still use that realtor. Maybe you can still use that construction team, but you have to try a new property management company. So you're still keeping 66% of that team and trying a new piece. That way it's an easy move. It's the same thing as when these monster franchise companies start scaling. Starbucks started in Seattle, their first store is in Seattle, their second store wasn't in Florida, right? They grow and you grow across the country in a way that makes sense. So market number 1, can the market satisfy my needs of inventory on Section 8 demand? Is it going to be there? Is it going to give me the return that I need? Once you have that figured out, the team is the next most important thing. If you do not have this figured out, market, you can't get to team. If you don't have team figured out, you can't get to the next piece. So the important part of going down this entire list and understanding these concepts is understanding that these concepts work together to help you get to the next one. So if you have the market figured out, do we have the team? Do we have the lenders lined up? Do we have the insurance companies lined up? Do we have our realtors lined up? Do we have our construction teams? Do we have our mentor if you choose to work with one? Do we have our property management company? Do we have these pieces? Do we have our real estate attorney? Do we have our accountants lined up? All of these things are the most important aspect of you investing in general. Never mind investing out of state in a market that you've never invested in before. So that team needs to be local to that market. It has to be local to that market. If you have really good real estate attorneys in Texas and really good contractors in Texas and you're buying in Indiana, that's not going to help you. So the team you need has to be in that market. All right? When you get a good market, find a good team. The team has to be in the market. That is extremely important. If you've been on the channel for a long time, you know I've been beating you over the head with that for years and years because it really is. You are only as good as the weakest link on your team. All right? Now, assuming that you already chose your market, you already have your team, the third concept that took me a long time, probably took me the longest time of any, but it is going to be, what kind of patience do we have with Section 8? Patience, patience, patience. Now, what does that mean? That means that we need to be extremely patient during the RAFTA process. When a Section 8 tenant drops off their paperwork, the processing timelines, the inspection timelines, the passing unit timeline. All of these things are slow. We're dealing with the government. These things take time. The people that work in Section 8 are overworked, they're underpaid. It is a very, very difficult process getting these people who want to live in our units. And when I say difficult, it's a lot more difficult than it should be, right? You watching this right now, you want to go and move into a rental property at the end of your street. You call the property management company or the owner, you say, I want to move into your house. They say, okay, here's the rent, here's the security deposit. When can you move in? Very, very simple. I can move in next week. Great, thank you. Done. Section 8's a lot differently. They're going to move slow. They don't care whether you're buying 1 unit or 500. There is no ability to get that application to the front of the line. There's no way to get your inspection moved up to the front of the line. You have to be patient with the process. And some people can get upset with that, and they can get kind of disrupted in their flow with that. And it's extremely important to understand, we're getting a tenant from the government who is getting all their rent paid by the US government. The trade-off to that is it takes time. If there was no trade-off, then everybody would do it. What are the pros and cons of Section 8? Well, the pros are there's a ton of people that need it. You get to help the community. You get to help people that are less fortunate than you. You get guaranteed money. Tenants very, very rarely leave. There's very, very little turnover in Section 8. There's a ton of pros. The con to that guaranteed money, the trade-off to that long-term tenancy is it takes a little bit of time. You have to be patient with the process, okay? Now, the other piece to this is stabilization. What does this concept mean? Stabilization. Okay, now, stabilizing our units, okay? Understanding that when a tenant moves in, or we are buying multiple units at once, Section 8 might take 60 days to pay. They might take 90 days to pay. If we're buying a turnkey unit and we haven't done any construction there, it wasn't a value add. We didn't do new electrical. We didn't do new plumbing. We didn't put a new roof on. We have to work the kinks out of that house. It's like an old car. We got to drive it a little bit. We got to make sure the belt is working right. We got to make sure the oil is good. We got to make sure that the gas tank's working good, the engine's pumping. Might take a little bit of time to work the kinks out, especially in old houses that are cheaper and perfect for Section 8. That stabilization period can take 6 to 12 months. So, for instance, you go under contract on a house today, takes you 30 days to close it. You close it, we go on market, takes 30 days to find a tenant. They submit their paperwork, takes 60 days for Section 8 to process it, might take another 30 days to get a Section 8 inspection. That inspection passes, that tenant moves in. Now that paperwork has to get signed off on and funded by the government. That might take another 30 to 60 days. Now, you're getting paid from the date the unit passes inspection, but still, that stabilization period can feel like forever. And when you're buying a lot of properties, you might be buying 3, 5, 10. I have some clients that buy 15, 20 properties at a time. When you're stabilizing all of those units at once and they're all Section 8, you have to be patient with that process. You have to understand that that stabilization period, when you're running your models and you're running your financials over the course of a 10-year, 20-year period, the first year you buy houses is not year 1, it's year 0. And it's year 0 for a reason, because it's your stabilization year. That year is all about getting somebody in it, getting it cash flowing, getting it up and running. That way it becomes a cash flowing asset. You got to have patience through that stabilization. Otherwise, this investment is not going to be the one for you, and you're going to get upset in the timing of it, okay? So understanding timing. Now, the fifth concept is the repetition. How do we repeat this process over and over again, okay? Now, when we choose the market, we have the team, we onboard that Section 8 tenant, we stabilize the unit, it begins to cash flow. Now, we have to repeat that over and over and over again. The repetition is extremely important, and it's really important that your team understands that. When you've had success with this process, and you know that right here, you have your cash flowing unit. You've got your cash flowing house, it's generating you a bunch of money, you're happy with it. Now we need to repeat that process over and over and over again. How do we do that? When we do that, we don't go and buy something totally different in a totally different area and say, oh, I really wanted to do it this way instead. Don't do that. You have to be okay repeating that process over and over and over again. And in order to be successful, that's what we're doing. We're repeating that process over and over and over again. So making sure that the team understands we can create that repetitive process and how to do it, making sure that the market can satisfy us repeating that process, meaning in the area that you bought, that you had that experience, there has to be more inventory. We have to be able to buy another 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom, or 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, whatever you did that was successful. Can't just be the only one on the market. Does the market satisfy that? Are you okay with being patient with Section 8 like you were on that first one? Were you good with the timelines of stabilization? Was the stabilization inside your budget? If you close on that house, you have a mortgage on that house, you might have to go 2 months, 3 months paying that mortgage before a tenant moves in. Are you okay with that stabilization period? If you were able to check all these boxes, now we need to repeat that over and over and over again, and that's an extremely important concept. You were successful with a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, that doesn't mean you move to the other side of the city and buy a 5-bedroom, 2-bath. If you have the opportunity to do it in that singular market that you were in that's closer to where you were already successful, let's do it. If you're working with somebody that has a very strong track record of buying 5.2s in a totally different part of town, not even anywhere close to where you just bought, you can try it. But in order to be successful over and over and over again, we want to try and repeat over and over and over again to repeat that success. And then lastly, one of the hardest ones that I see people messing up over and over and over again is understanding that it is okay to be boring. Now, what does that mean? It means that Section 8 real estate investing is a very, very boring way to invest in real estate. It is not sexy. It takes time. We're buying in markets that are not sexy. We're not buying in Houston. We're not buying in Austin. We're not buying in Nashville. We're not buying in Miami. We are buying in areas that are a little bit more distressed, that are not going to be most likely vacation destinations or bachelorette and bachelor party destinations. They're not going to be super fun to go to. The investment itself is going to be very strong. It's going to kick off a 10 to 25% cash on cash return, depending on where you buy and what you buy. But what I see all the time is I see clients, they do this entire process, they get these units cash flowing, these units are kicking off a strong return, and they say, yeah, well, that was good. I'm making 15% cash on cash on my money, but I could be doing Airbnb. And that sounds better. I could probably make a little bit more money. That tends to be one of the biggest issues we face when it comes to growing these large portfolios. It is okay to be boring. It is okay to create a portfolio that is not sexy. That is all great. We can do that. We have to be okay with a boring, consistent return on our money. That's totally fine. I really, really want to focus on that because Section 8 is not sexy. It is not something that's going to all of a sudden pay us $1 million a year. It's going to be very repetitive. It's going to be consistent. Every year on year, you're going to know, hey, last year my unit grossed $13,000, $14,000 a month or $13,000 a year. I can expect that this year. I'm filing a rental increase. I can expect X this year. Some Airbnbs, one year you might do 100,000, the next year you might do 20. I've seen it. I've seen Airbnbs here in Nashville do 250,000 one year and then do 0 the next year, literally. COVID, okay? So things happen. This is extremely consistent, it's extremely boring, and it's safe. It's conservative. It's a very, very good investment that you can piggyback on as you continue your investment career. So guys, if you want to do it with me and you want to build a portfolio with me and my teams, my email is in the description below. Otherwise, leave questions, comments. I'll get to all of them, and we'll see you next time.